Sukuna may not have been remembered only as a monster. In this video, we compare two views. The Nihon Shoki, where Sukuna appears as an enemy of the court, and Hida traditions, where he can look more like a local guardian. By the end, the name Ryomen Sukuna may feel less like a simple villain and more like a legend with two faces. The name Ryomen Sukuna became known around the world through Jujutsu Kaisen. But this name does not belong only to the story. It also appears in old Japanese records and in traditions from the Hida region. This video is not an official explanation of Jujutsu Kaisen. It does not use official footage, manga panels, or official illustrations, and it does not claim to explain the author's intent. Instead, we will use the name Ryomen Sukuna as an entrance into Japanese tradition, old records, and the difference between central history and local memory. First, let us look at Ryomen Sukuna in the Nihon Shoki. In that record, Sukuna is described as a strange being with two faces on one body, and with limbs unlike those of an ordinary person. He is also described as someone who did not obey the court and troubled the people. From this point of view, Ryomen Sukuna is a dangerous figure who stands against central order. But there is one important point. The Nihon Shoki was written from the perspective of the central court. In old records, local powers that did not follow the center could be described as strange, violent, or monstrous. So instead of reading Sukuna only as a literal monster, we can also read him as someone who looked foreign, powerful, and difficult to control from the center's point of view. This does not mean that the old record should simply be rejected. The important point is that every historical record has a viewpoint. When a record tells the story of building central authority, people who do not follow that authority are often described as threats. For that reason, strong local figures or groups may later appear in records as monstrous beings. Ryomen Sukuna becomes more interesting when we see him at the border between history and legend. In the Nihon Shoki story, Ryomen Sukuna is defeated by Takefuru Kuma. If we look only at that structure, it seems like a simple story of the court defeating an evil being. But history and tradition often lose their depth when we look from only one direction. Next, let us look at traditions from the Hida region. In those traditions, Ryomen Sukuna is not always remembered only as a villain. In some local stories, he appears as a powerful person, a figure connected to temples and shrines, or even someone remembered as a guardian of the area. This is the most interesting part of the Ryomen Sukuna tradition. In mountainous regions like Hida, memory can remain in a way that differs from the center. Mountains, shrines, villages, local protectors, and memories of old powerful families can overlap. Through that process, one person or legendary figure can be remembered as a guardian of the land. The same figure can be a rebel from the capital's point of view, and a protector from the local people's point of view. In the central record, Sukuna is an enemy to be defeated. In local tradition, he can be a powerful figure who remained in memory. The same name changes its meaning when the viewpoint changes. This connects to the way we think about history itself. History is not only a list of facts from the past. Who recorded it? From where was it seen? What was the record trying to protect? Depending on those questions, the same person or legend can appear as a rebel, a hero, a monster, or a guardian. For the central record, order and authority were important. For local tradition, the memory and belief of the land were important. Rather than saying only one side is completely true, placing both views side by side lets us see the depth of the tradition. That is why Ryomen Sukuna is too interesting to treat as just a name to memorize. The two faces of Ryomen Sukuna may not only mean a strange appearance, they may also suggest two viewpoints. The face seen from the center, and the face seen from the local land. The feared face, and the respected face. The face of a defeated enemy, and the face of a memory that remained in the mountains. That is why this video begins with the question, monster or hero, and returns to that question at the end. Ryomen Sukuna becomes more interesting when we move between two viewpoints instead of forcing one answer. The Sukuna in Jujutsu Kaisen and the Ryomen Sukuna of tradition are not the same thing. We cannot treat the character in the story as if he were a historical figure, but by learning the background of the name, we can become interested in old Japanese tradition and in the difference between central records and local memory. When we take one step beyond knowing only the name, the scenery changes. Ryomen Sukuna is not only a frightening name, it can also be an entrance into old records, mountain traditions, and the memory of local communities. Japanese tradition has many figures whose borders are unclear. In one place they are feared as disasters. In another place they are remembered almost like protectors. Ryomen Sukuna is fascinating because he stands on that border. So it may be too simple to call Ryomen Sukuna only a villain. In the Nihon Shoki, he is an unusual being defeated by the court. In Hida traditions, he is a strong memory that remained in the region. By looking at both sides together, the story becomes much deeper. Do you see Ryomen Sukuna as a monster, or as a hero remembered by the local people? That question is what makes this tradition so interesting. Next, we look at the one called the strongest.